Hey guys, no, it is not done. We can still talk about the Lens PSG controversy. The game was officially postponed. It was decided 3 days ago. But I think now that we're done with all of the shouting and the crazy people on Twitter and everyone having their preconceived notions and opinions about what's going on, it's actually a good time to take a step back and still talk about this, because behind the drama, behind all of the shouting, on the internet and in various media, there is a lot of interesting facts and interesting realities that coincided with this bit of drama. And so I wanted to take the time, go back to it, and calmly kind of try to untangle what were the real questions and what we should really be talking about when it comes to Lens PSG getting postponed. And I think there's a few different elements to it. There's a domestic piece, there's the international piece, there's a PSG piece, there's a Ligue 1 piece. So it's a puzzle, and really, I'm guilty as everyone, in the sense that when it was happening, for me, it was honestly driving me out of my mind how silly the whole thing was. And ultimately, I was a big believer of there's a rule and there's a process, and we follow it, and things are decided way in advance, and we should follow them even when it's uncomfortable. And so in that sense, I was in favor of postponing the game. But with having a full understanding of why Lens was feeling so burned about it, why from an external perspective, Ligue 1 was looking a little bit silly, but still. And so I think, I'll start with that. I think I'll start with the domestic piece and the Lens fans and how annoyed they were. Because I can definitely understand that. And at the same time, what they were saying, and this whole idea of equity and fairness and so on, I buy that and I don't buy that, because it's not about fairness. Let's be real, it's about facing PSG at the time where it gives Lens the best chance of getting a win. Just like for PSG, postponing is about giving us the best chance to not only perform against Liverpool, but be able to perform against Lens. And ultimately, every club is looking for their own interest, and that's entirely right. But I think when we think about fairness, I hear the frustration, because they had a golden chance to get an easier time against us. But at the same time, we decide the rules are decided a long time in advance, and at the beginning of the season, all of the presidents got together, club presidents got together, and decided that collectively they were going to support the clubs who were in European competition. It's not a new thing. It's the kind of stuff we've had in France for 20 plus years, honestly. And it was reaffirmed at the beginning of the season, with pretty much everyone being in favor, including the president of Lens. So now it impacts them directly, and it impacts them in a way which they think is not going to be good for them. So they're against it, and I understand that. But we need to hold ourselves to the standards that we define outside of special circumstances. Otherwise, we never get anywhere. And so I think, for Lens, it is the way it is. Obviously, it's not the initial calendar. I can see why, playing us in between two Champions League games and 2 days before a game away in Liverpool would have been good for them. But yeah, what I don't buy is when they come at us and say oh my God, we're gonna have to play 3 games in a week, and then we don't play for 2 weeks, and it's gonna completely mess us up and so on. Guys, you're right now, you're in an international break. There's 3 players within the Lens squad who have been called up for international duties. For all of the others, they have 2 weeks off right now, and it's not messing up their season. It's just the reality of it. And then They come back, they play their game against Lille, then they have a 2 weeks break because of the PSG game getting postponed, and then after that they're playing 3 games in a week because they are in the Coupe de France. So it's not. I understand that because they're not qualified for Europe this season, their team wasn't built for playing every 3 days. But it's not like it's been happening every week as well, and it has been happening a few times too. So they should be able to cope. And I think, if you talk about fairness, there's something to be said about things being more fair when both Lens and PSG are playing together in a week where they both have 3 games to play, instead of in a week where Lens only has 1 game and we have 3. It's not in their favor, for sure, but it's probably a bit more fair. So that's the Lens side of it. For PSG, and I think domestically speaking, it's a little bit funny in a way, because I think this whole controversy just gave an easy opportunity for a lot of people who don't like us to just say that they don't like us. And a lot of the opinions that I heard in France were really about this. It was about Qatar is in charge of the league, and Nasser is corrupt, and big PSG is just doing whatever they want, and how we're protecting PSG so much, and I honestly I don't buy any of those arguments. They might be true, they might not be. I honestly don't know, but I don't buy any of them. I think there was a process in place which was applied. There's rules and kind of ways of making those decisions that we decide in advance. Like I said earlier, the decision was made early in the season, and every year for the past 20 years of trying to protect French clubs who are playing in Europe. Basically, every big French club has benefited from that at one point or the other in recent memory. Marseille, Lyon, Monaco. So yeah, sure, now people can turn around and say it's horrible because it's PSG. Yeah. Everyone will make their own opinion of this. I know where is mine, but yeah. And I think, ultimately, there's something nice to be said about people who don't like us. Literally, this is the best thing they can find to complain about us. A few years ago, they would have been making fun of us because we would have been kicked out of the Champions League already. We would have had a remontada, or something ridiculous would have happened. Neymar would have gotten injured just before an important game. You name it, we've had it. We've given so many free shots about us to all of the people who don't like us. Now, if the one thing they can complain about is that we're postponing one of our game before a Champions League game, yeah, slim stuff. Honestly, I don't care. You can do that; it's fine by me. So yeah, and there was an argument made that this was a chance missed by PSG. To just shore up its popularity with general football fans in France and non PSG fans. Yeah, I don't think so, honestly. I think every team, and especially big teams everywhere in Europe and in the world, they will never turn down an opportunity to gain an advantage. And that's the reality, and it's professional sport. Literally, they'd be crazy if they did. And in this case, we have an opportunity to gain an advantage over Liverpool in our Champions League game. We know Champions League is critical, so we take the gain. Of course we do. And Lens didn't want to move it. Fine by them, and then the league makes that decision, and that's the process, and that's how it worked, and we get to a decision. You can disagree with it, free for you, but the process was transparent, and the decision ultimately was unanimous of the board of the league. It was a unanimous decision, and the people who were involved, because Nasser is in that board, because our the managing director is in this board, and also the president of Strasbourg is in this board, who also had their game postponed. All 3 of them did not vote. So it was unanimous without those people. It was just other club presidents and people related and so on. All of them voted in favor because there is a reality right now, and that gets us to like the league and institutional part of it, which is it's more important for French football right now to do as much as possible and give ourselves as much of a chance to perform in Europe than just like not having this controversy in Ligue 1, because the only effect is really the controversy. We need the UEFA points. We are like relatively tight, especially if you look at next year with Portugal. And Portugal going past us would mean like one less spot in the Champions League. So it is like the nightmare. We absolutely do not want that. So it is important, and that's just like that's the reality of it. And I think, when it comes to Ligue 1, you can definitely be sad, and I think to some extent I am, that Ligue 1 is just not important enough to just like be able to stand on its own 2 feet. And yeah, when you see the Premier League, they don't care because like their English teams, they want to win the Premier League, and it's almost more important for them than the Champions League. It's not the case for us. It's not the case, and Ligue 1, it's not the Premier League. Like, just the reality of it. And so, like, yeah, right now, what do we lose? We lose potentially like we lose a game between like the 2 top teams in the table. That would have happened on a Saturday at 5 p.m. with potentially PSG playing their B team. I mean, and if you take away all of the controversy, I really challenge you, like, how many people do you think outside of France, how many, like, because we're trying to sell Ligue 1 abroad and we're trying to, like, get new markets and so on, even domestically, that's not, like, the best way to play this game. That's just not the best way to maximize its impact for Ligue 1. I'd rather have... assuming things stay the same clash between number 1 and number 2 of the league, just one day before the end of the league, when it can actually be a title decider, and where like we'll have to play our A team if that's the case. And yes, there is a possibility of Lens sleeping by then. But then, like, if that's the case, then like the game, if we had played it in its initial spot, wouldn't have been a title decider anyway. Because if Lens is going to be losing points outside of it, you get into a weird kind of like catch-21 situation of, oh yes, but like if we play the game at the initial date and Lens wins it, maybe it gives them a boost. By which they don't lose or drop points in subsequent games that they would have if you don't play I mean, really, that's the rationale, really? And ultimately, like, right now, PSG is virtually 4 points ahead. So the way this game is going to be played, it means, like, for the title to be won beforehand, there needs to be more than a 6-point difference. Yeah, so it means that for it not to be a title decider, Lens has to drop points. So it's still completely in their hand, and they still have all of the cards in their hand to make that game a title decider further down the road. If they can do that, and I'm sorry, like, as PSG, we still have a lot of games to play. We still need to play Lyon right after Liverpool, which is going to be difficult. If we end up qualifying for the semi-final, there's not going to be any opportunity to postpone any games. So we will be playing every 3 days. So for the semi-final, we'll have the full 8-day stretch in between Champions League games. But so we still have a lot of games to play, and we're still going to have a congested fixture list in a way which makes it relatively likely that PSG drops point as well. So if Lens drops more points than us and gets to the end of the season being more than 6 points behind us, I'm sorry, but like, it's kind of their fault in the first place. Like, we cannot build the whole Ligue 1 season around the possibility of people playing PSG at our lowest and at our easiest to beat. It's not like a fair reality, I guess, in a way. So that's it. And I think, like I said before, like you can definitely be sad for the fact that Ligue 1 is not in a position to be strong enough and say like, no, like we just play the game because like literally like you should be playing your A team against Lens and your B team against Liverpool because it's more important to beat Lens than it is to beat Liverpool. But the reality is that, like very, very few leagues in the world do that. And if you look at the leagues around us, the Portuguese postpone their games. Sporting is postponing their game in between the two games against Arsenal, just like they did the round before against Bode Glimt. The Dutch league do that a lot for their European teams. And there's been example of games getting moved around in the Liga as well and in other leagues. So pretending that it's just like Ligue 1 being ridiculous, it's not entirely fair. And I don't think Ligue 1 can be held to the standard of the Premier League right now because like Ligue 1 is not the Premier League and it's not like as big a league as the Premier League, and that's the reality. And at the same time in the Premier League, like now you see, like I was laughing, the news came out today that Saka and Rice got released by the English team so they can go back with Arsenal. Apparently they might be injured, quote unquote, and so they're missing the second international game so they can go back to their club. Like at least like PSG players, they're still with the French national team and they're not coming back, and I think, ultimately it's funny as well because you can argue about it if you are an English fan. I think that's the international portion of it. But the reality is that over the last year and a half, PSG has played more games than I think like basically every Premier League team. So it's like, because English fans are coming at us with, you guys don't have a League Cup anymore, and Ligue 1 is only 18 teams when the Premier League is 20, and now you're moving your games around. So like, how easy is your calendar? Like, guys, it's like literally like there's barely a team in Europe that's played more games than PSG in the last year and a half. So it's completely ridiculous to even compare. And like, I'm sorry, but if you are an English fan, you do have a lot of advantages in the Champions League that we do not have. You have like, you've got crazy TV rights money, you've got like better payroll taxes. That means it's financial fair play is easier for you to pass. You've got like the country protection in the group phase, which makes it easy to qualify for the next rounds. It's like you've got better contracts for youngsters, and you're more able to loan youngsters, so you can like have wider squads and recruit younger players. Like stuff like this, like we do not have in France. So sorry, not sorry. Like we're trying to get an advantage here. Yes. Maybe like UEFA will look at it and go like decide that in the future it's against the rule. Right now it's not. It's not against the rule in France, not against the rule in England. It's not against the rule in Europe. Then that's the way it is. And honestly, I feel like, and I'll finish with that. But I feel like this whole controversy ultimately distracted us from having the real conversations. We should be in a football world where we're having more and more and more games to play, to the point where it's like really posing questions on the health of the player and how can they stay at their top level and play every game at their top level. Like how do we adapt to that? How do we make sure that we don't kill our players by making them play in more and more games? How do you as a league and as country teams come together to find the right balance and allow the teams who are playing more games because they are in Europe to not only have the advantages of it, share those advantages, because a lot of European TV rights, they get shared with non-European teams, and they trickle down to their own leagues. But put those teams in the best situation to perform, bring in new EFA points, qualify more teams for Europe, and have this kind of positive cycle within their own country. I think those are real questions. And I think, like, you know, they're conversations that should be happening and we should be having, and they're not going to be having if the conversation is just like, oh, here goes the bad Qatari, like corrupt, and the Farmers League and so on. Like, sorry, let's be serious about it. So anyway, like, this is kind of my wrap up. I'm done. I swear, this is over. This like drama of the postponement of the Lens PSG game. I'm done with it. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. What, like, do you agree that the bigger conversation was just like shouted down by the nonsense? And so, like, for you guys, I think, like, one of the real questions we can debate on, and so let me know in the comment, do you think national leagues should try to boost their teams when they're in Europe? So like what Ligue 1 did of trying to help PSG and help Strasbourg, do you think leagues should be doing that or not at all? I think, like, we can definitely, like, disagree on that. Like, that's fair points on both sides. So yeah, let me know about this in the comment. As always, if you made it this far into the video, thanks so much. Drop a thumbs up, a like on the video, massively helps. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified of future videos. And don't forget, in reality, ici c'est pareil!